Another question I often get, excuse me, is what is enlightenment to you, Wayne? And again, I really try to stress that enlightenment isn't the goal in itself. It's a horrible goal to have because you will be constantly disappointed. But nonetheless, it's important to understand what it's important to understand what your ideal of enlightenment is. In my own personal experiences, my Satori experiences and stuff, of what enlightenment is. To me, it's a disidentification with the ego. Your consciousness, that which is aware, no longer identifies with this sense of self. Excuse me. Identify is probably an important word to understand. I think this is often overlooked. Identify is who you think you are, which is more an accurate word, what you think you are. What you think you are, who you think you are, is your identification. When you stop identifying, when you disidentify with the ego, whereas before the ego surrounded you, soon the ego starts to separate, and you feel that there's this personality, there's these actions, there's this old programming and conditioning that is no longer you, it is something outside of you. Eckhart Tolle, again, when he speaks of his mind, he's always having his hand out here, and I just noticed when I was watching the other videos, I often talk about this sort of thing. This is my awareness, and this is who I'm trying to get that in the camera. This is who I'm presenting to the world. Okay, this is the ego, the personality, the presentation, the mind, or whatever. So what happens is most people identify, it's like this. As you become more and more spiritually aware, that identification starts to separate, and you feel you are seeing your own actions, your own reactions out here. Often it seems with people who become enlightened, there seems to be this coalescing period where the consciousness separates from the ego in a permanent manner. Satori, on the other hand, is where you get a glimpse of the enlightened state, but it doesn't hold. There isn't that coalescing period. The ego quickly comes back and grabs you tightly and stuff. This is where, I mean, in a spiritual seeker, the more advanced you are, the more the ego goes away and comes back, goes away, and again, that's that liquid level I'm talking about. For the enlightened person, the ego goes out here and it never comes back. It's always out here. They're always aware of the ego, the personality, whatnot out here. That to me is what enlightenment is. A lot of New Age type people have a hard time with this, but it's very important to understand. A lot of the New Age method is to feel good, but really all that is the ego feeling good. You never lose the ego, but you have to disidentify with it. You have to separate from it. You have to start seeing your thoughts, seeing your personality, seeing your emotions, rather than feeling that they are so personal to you. And the more you practice this through meditation, through awareness, the less affected you are by them, by the emotions. You don't hold on to good times, you don't hold on to bad times. You allow things, and it's very much of a flowing sort of feeling. It makes you appreciate almost all things. And in the book, that's why I use the photographs. I try to show that sense of peace that you feel from disidentifying with the ego. It almost sounds like you're detaching from the world, but it's almost the opposite. It's almost like you can see the world so much clearer. I'll relate my very first Satori experience. I had been meditating for quite a while and stuff, and I was sitting on the beach one morning watching the sunrise, and I was just noticing things, and it came to me the thought of where I was coming from, what happens when, my next question will be about meditation, how I meditate, but basically I was starting to see that where I come from, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not this body, I'm not these emotions and stuff. I kept going farther and farther back from what I usually identify with. Farther and farther until I was like this little bitty point, it seemed, looking out, this little bitty tiny dot looking out at this huge world. Okay? Boom. Suddenly that little point just disappeared. And now what is left when there's nothing? All of a sudden I realized that I was nothing, but the enlightened part was that everything else, the source of it was the same nothingness. In other words, 0 apples is equal to 0 oranges. Here I am, 0 Waynes was equal to 0 of the worlds. And there was complete union. I went from this little, I kept shrinking down as I was meditating, smaller and smaller and smaller, to this little bitty point of awareness. Then that disappeared, and what's left? Everything's left. It's kind of strange. You go really, really small, boom, and then all of a sudden you're everything. It was very, very cool. That probably lasted for a half hour. I was sitting on the beach just grinning like an idiot. It's like, wow, this is, I wouldn't even say, you can't even say it's, wow, it's so cool and stuff. It's just that emptiness, that's full. And that is what I imagine enlightened people experience all the time. I could see thoughts come up. I'd see a bird go by, and I could hear the mind say bird, but it wasn't Wayne saying bird. It wasn't Wayne saying it's a seagull or, identifying it. I mean, yeah, I saw the mind doing that, but it wasn't a teaching mind. It wasn't a student mind. It was just bird, seagull, ocean, everything, but I was also everything. Because again, shrank down to this little point of awareness, and then poof, it was gone. Poof. Often I can make myself get close to that point, but there's theories, and a number of teachers have said that you can't make yourself get to that point. And my explanation for this is like you can't taste your tongue. Your tongue is used to experience taste. And awareness is used to experience thoughts. Thoughts are what create the controlling thing, the making things happen. So in other words, your awareness is here, but your thoughts are up here. This can't affect that. In other words, your thoughts can't affect your awareness, but your awareness, of course, can see your thoughts. What happens is the thoughts go away, and that's enlightenment right there. But you can't make your thoughts go away no more than you can hold yourself up off the ground. It's just that's why they say you're always enlightened. You're already enlightened because you can see your thoughts. You're always seeing your thoughts. What keeps you from recognizing that is you're identifying with these thoughts. Again, you think you're those thoughts, but you're really not. You're the awareness that sees those thoughts. Hopefully that'll clarify what enlightenment is, at least what I feel enlightenment is. But again, I want to stress that it's important not to be too attached to the ideal of enlightenment, just because it will do nothing but frustrate you. Practice, focus, and the next question will be about meditation, and I'll tell you how I do it, and just practice, and your ego will loosen. You'll stop identifying with it. One day, maybe you'll have the Satori experience. One day, maybe you'll have it, and the ego won't come back. The ego won't come zooming back. Let me know.